All right, so I've run the numbers. Here's what's going on, Chief. So space we've got is still listed as well big. In terms of our rivals, Elon's been blowing it up in terms of tech outside of hotels. And then the final thing, like this meteor's gonna hit the Earth at some point. No, sorry, hang on a second. Yeah, it's just flying through space about now and heading directly for a football match happening in Argentina. So I said, how the fuck am I gonna give you back shots with my suit on? That doesn't even make any— Wait, hold on a second. That's heading straight for a football match happening in Argentina.
Rivero. Aquí está Rivero. La levantó Rivero. Zuliani.
Sí, están tirando. I should probably stop the game, really, shouldn't I? Nah, it's South America, actually. Play on, boy! Yo guys, it is your boy Liren here, and you are watching FTW. This, of course, the series where I bring to you the best and more frequently the worst what football has to offer during the last 7 days. What's been kicking off in the world this week? Well, after a number of planes went on strike after seeing the US election results, yet another crash took place as a Delta plane flying from the US landed in Toronto. Upside down. Now, ladies and gentlemen, though, immediate analysis time.
Now, would you stop it there?
It should be this way round. And that concludes. Imagine being someone safely arriving during this flight, by the way. No casualties, as I'm sure you can tell by the fact that I'm joking about it. But honestly, at this point, it's actually fundamentally accepted to start clapping when the plane lands. Everyone on board is apparently getting a $30,000 payout from Delta. Are you taking a piss? That barely covers baggage, bro. Airport security, though, has at least got some level of defense to it. The same can't be said for Man City's security. Right, so that's a Nerf gun, yeah? Yeah.
I could blow the roof of this fucking airport.
It was do or die for Manchester City at the Bernabeu this week, and the funeral starts at 3. They were comfortably swept aside by Los Blancos 3-1 and by a Kylian Mbappe hat-trick. One long ball over the top for Real opened the scoring here, a terrible goal for Man City to concede, with John Stones doing his best Michael Jackson impression. John was heavily distracted as Kylian ran through on goal. John Stones has got kidney stones, the way he was dealt with here, I'm not gonna lie to you.
Wagwan, General.
As Mbappe then celebrated, pointing out how he looped it over Brazilian goalkeeper Edison. There were the same vibes later in the half, as Joshko Gvardiol was absolutely sent for a hot dog. Kylian then pointing and laughing at him as he ran by, and mocking him with the celebration again. Look at this wassy, bro. Yeah, it's a shithousery award for the Frenchman, I can't lie. Gvardiol's in recovery position in the background, for fuck's sake. His ankles have just been donated to charity, and this is the celebration you're giving him. Man City apparently brought their own water supply for this one. That was just for Pep Guardiola, knowing that he'd drink it all. 17 litres down after an 8-0 defeat. To be fair, I drank Spanish water once, and they made the right decision. So, Man City's medical department will have been swapping it for Real's after putting poison into it to get at Kylian Mbappe. Instead, though, the Frenchman got man of the match, completing his hat-trick in the second half with a generational performance. On the flip side, an Erling Haaland had been benched for this one. He failed to capture test before kickoff clearly. Rodri was still taking pictures from the stands and not enjoying what he was seeing.
Vamos pular a parte que eu peço aquele vinho do bom.
Meanwhile, as Man City fans flooded out of the Bernabeu whilst 3-0 down, Spanish news outlet Marca decided to do some questioning.
What happened inside? What happened?
Well, you actually know the score, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, why would you rub that in my face?
Sorry, mate, what happened? What happened inside?
We're fucking wank, that's what happened, mate.
Shit, lad.
We are absolute shit. Is this recording?
Yeah.
Tell you what, Pep Guardiola, he needs to fuck off.
Terrible journalism, but it is fun to see these lot crash out. Stop crying your heart out, honestly, guys, I swear down. Vinny Jr., of course, remembered this banner from the Etihad and promised to stop crying over on Twitter. At least Man City fans can rejoice when they realise Real have never won a Carabao Cup before. Pep has been a completely different manager since he joined Hinge, I'm not gonna lie to you, and will be devastated realising that his side have actually got to play again at some point in the next week.
I want to hurt myself.
It's a 13th loss for the Spaniard this season, the most in any season in his managerial career. Unheard of. Now, if Real managed to ruin a bald man's week, at least they balanced the books, unlike Man City, by stressing out a man with hair as well. Though by the end of the week, it might all be gone. In their La Liga match versus Osasuna, they were held to a draw, but a talking point was a red card for Jude Bellingham for saying fuck off to the referee.
Fuck off!
Vete a la mierda, imbécil. De todos modos, ni siquiera me gusta el chorizo.
Jude really putting the bell in Bellingham with this one. Thankfully for Barca, this referee sleeps in Martin Braithwaite branded bed sheets, and so a red card was given. Danny Carvajal couldn't believe his eyes over on Insta, and the Fiat 500 police were on their way to arrest the ref after sending off their golden boy. Does Jude think that the referees in Spain don't speak English or something? He'll be trying to trick the Spaniard into calling himself a nonce next time out.
Yeah, how do I say it again?
I'm a nonsense.
I'm an auntie.
Dude, I swear, yeah, come Liverpool, bro. This stuff doesn't happen in the Prem. They'll just send you off for a handshake instead. Real Madrid fans were not happy with this one. Real broadcaster Chinguito even brought an English teacher on to show the difference between fuck you and fuck off, which the La Liga referee had got a little bit confused with at the time. Look, I don't know if I agree, but like overall with the decision, I do think it's a little bit harsh. But again, if you're being disrespectful to a referee, you've at least got to get carded with something. But for Real Madrid fans acting like they're victims, it is so funny, man. You and Barca, both by referees, in equal measure. The amount of controversial decisions that Real have had in the Champions League is an absolute joke. And I'm sorry, but I just don't want to hear otherwise. You've probably been hard done by overall during the course of this season. I'll accept that. But come on, man. If there's one team that can't complain in the history of football, it's you lot. Either way, the referee's family have been getting harassed since then. And genuinely, this situation is going way, way too far. Though I get why Real fans are frustrated. Barca have overcome a 7-point lead from absolutely nowhere. Another team hoping to overcome a 7-point lead were Arsenal before Liverpool headed to Aston Villa in the Premier League midweek. And they might have got some help from Darwin Núñez. Liverpool drew 2-2 in a frenetic game here, but that wasn't the true storyline, I'm not gonna lie to you. Oh, how unanimously Uruguayan. Darwin Núñez missed again in this one. An open goal after a slot in from Szoboszlai. And honestly, this miss doesn't even rank in his top 5. And in at number 6 in the UK, not 40 this week. It is a shame. Darwin Núñez not selling enough copies. The Liverpool number 9 then walked off on his own as the rest of the team clapped Liverpool fans, and then was seen laughing with Emi Martinez after looking like Stevie Wonder with a blindfold on up top. Stevie Wonder doesn't even need a blindfold, by the way. It's just that extra layer away from actual vision. That's what was happening here. Dominic Szoboszlai was getting frustrated, helping him with the most easiest of tasks. Now, we had more XG in this game, but it doesn't tell the story. Aston Villa had enough chances as well, with Donyell Marlon coming close right to death. 2G out of that total XG there was for Darwin Núñez's chance. That's 2 XG out of 1 as a total possible XG. The man's a terrorist. I've genuinely seen the light. I actually can't hack this anymore. Him going to bed, he's in a certain position, and I won't explain any further. Even Saudi Arabia won't spend money on this man. If scientists did tests on his brain, they would fail. His IQ reading's off the chart. Literally, it's outside of the pie chart. I ain't even seen this before. Arsenal have no striker that's fit at the moment, and that's better than Darwin Núñez. I love him. I really do. I know I'm tearing into him, but honestly, he's such a lovable person, and he's brought us some clutch moments. But for every clutch moment, there's one that makes you wonder whether his mum was doing bath salts while she was pregnant. Overall, not a terrible result, given it's Aston Villa, but after the Everton result is disappointing, Ollie Watkins on serious Arsenal fan business here. The Reds did at least get a good result in the Prem as we beat Wolves 2-1, but Wolves smacked us in the second half, and it was like watching a car crash happen in slow motion. 10 shots for Wolves compared to our 0 in the second half. Jarell Kwanzaa doing more saving than his average Snapchats, with an unreal tackle here to deny Wolves. Diogo Jota with a catastrophic dive as well in this one. I mean, at least he's not missed the ball like Darwin did. Arnie Slot, meanwhile, managed to perfect his Jamie Carragher impression.
Nervousness here that recent history could repeat itself. Yeah.
And it would be good if our set-piece coach could do an impression of a competent worker, because our corners at the moment are an absolute disgrace.
Special beyond special.
Arsenal managed to eat into Liverpool's lead in the title race by defeating Leicester 2-0, thanks to Mikel Merino being a last-minute hero as a sub. The greatest thing out of all of this, though, Leicester fans physically scrapping in the background for Merino's goal. This guy might be the striker that Arsenal fans were yearning for, and that genuinely makes me feel depressed. The Gunners are now 15 without defeat in the Premier League, their best streak since April 2011, which with injuries is a very solid run, I'm not gonna lie. Kai Havertz and Bukayo Saka could be seen in the same gown, and I'm fully expecting that to be their 5th kit for the season. Elsewhere in the Premier League, and we had a mid-off. Depression. But for who, Chris Kamara? Tottenham versus United saw Spurs win narrowly versus now 15th in the league. 1-0 the result, but a truly horrible game. Eye-wateringly, cataclysmically abominable disgrace to the game of football. United fans fuming. They've got 37 injuries and not one of them's to Rasmus Højlund. It's time for him to go to uni. Genuinely, I've seen the light, bro. Get the books out. Put the student finance in the bag. I can't help but feel United will be wanting to offload the Dane in the summer, but some of the bids that'll be coming in will be far away from their valuation.
Say £20 a fleece. So,
£20 a fleece, yeah. All right, cool. So I'd like to make you an offer, my friend. £1.50.
To be honest, him and Xerxes have been stinking up the gaff all season. Joshua Xerxes is actually an okay footballer. He's actually a very good footballer, technically speaking. The guy just can't score. This is the worst United team since pre-World War I, and their bench isn't even full of real people.
16
At a push 17, 16.
Hamas on the subs bench seems extremely excessive under the circumstances. James Maddison was the deal breaker in this game, scoring in the 13th minute and aiming a celebration at Roy Keane, posting on his TikTok afterwards. Honestly, brave of James to think that Roy Keane has TikTok. Or a phone for that matter, and the Irish pundit will be firm in his response afterwards. On the theme of Tottenham, North Korea have announced they're banning Spurs games in the country, and North Koreans who support Tottenham will be celebrating the news. I'm guessing this is Heung-min Son related, but Kim Jong-un will be busting through the doors himself when he finds a resident watching Spurs v Ipswich on Monday Night Football. Over at Chelsea, and they got ran through on Valentine's Day, featuring the most delicate touch Cole Palmer's ever seen on a day for lovers, except it's from another man in Kaoru Mitoma. This goal was absolutely disgusting. Long ball from Bart Verbruggen and a crazy touch and finish from Mitoma. Meanwhile, Jadon Sancho on the opposite wing brought his Timberlands with him, not trying too hard for Yakuba Minte's goal. Speaking of which, this kid is absolutely sensational. We might have to rename the channel, I'm not gonna lie. Meanwhile, Joel Veltman was truly embracing the life of Brighton by becoming a seagull himself, yet Iliman Ndiaye gets a yellow card when he does it for Everton.
Is it a colour thing?
Back in the Champions League and on the theme of Valentine's, if it's for someone that isn't me, let's head over to Brest, who were demolished 10-0 on aggregate by fellow French side PSG. Brest sucked in this one, I'm not gonna lie. 18-3 to score overall for them this season, and as I mentioned, 10-0 on aggregate after a 7-0 battering in the second leg. Meanwhile, Micah Richards will be devastated that his favourite side are out of the competition.
No more Brest this year?
Speak for yourself, Kate.
I will speak. I can definitely assure you. No more Brest. Yeah.
PSG clearly tricked into thinking this was Ligue 1 here and actually performing like they do in domestic competitions rather than in Europe. Imagine they win the Champions League after selling all of their stars. Kylian Mbappe will be watching on furiously when Vitinha lifts the trophy at the end of the season. Italian side Atalanta experienced a nightmare versus Club Brugge as the Belgian underdogs knocked them out. They were 3-0 down at half-time. The Italian side tweeted about Ademola Lookman before kickoff, and this aged abominably. He missed a penalty, and Gasperini, Atalanta's boss, said that he's not a serious penalty taker and he's the worst he's ever seen. Ademola, unsurprisingly, was pretty unhappy about being made a scapegoat here and put out a response on social media that will now see the Nigerian leave the club in the summer. Now, don't get it twisted, I've seen his last 6 penalties. 3 of them were very good. 1 he was lucky to score, 1 he missed, which was against Bruges, and then the other one was that one against Fulham. Maybe this is fully deserved, actually. But Gasperini's got over-emotional in a press conference after the game, and he's just ruined the whole flow of his season now. Lookman is undoubtedly their best player, and he's probably now not going to play any games till the end of the season. He has a record with this. Joachim Mæhle, a wing-back from Denmark, once complained about Gasperini's methods and was backed by centre-back Demiral as well. But honestly, Ademola, look, listen, the key thing is, yeah, babes, this won't happen at Liverpool, innit? So don't worry, come here. And things really unraveled late in the day for Atalanta as their captain Rafael Toloi lost his head completely. Another Italian side are out, this time in the form of Milan, who again, big surprise, were knocked out by Eredivisie side Feyenoord. Santiago Jimenez scored after just 41 seconds versus his former side, only to be knocked out by the Dutch club in the end. Feyenoord bringing out a special tweet for their Italian opponents. Theo Hernandez was red carded in this one, and that was a serious turning point, getting a second yellow card for diving in the area. He was getting his practice in before kickoff, only to end up fucking it for his entire team. He's no better than Diogo Jota, bro. He's actually been booked for the pink hair on my life. That has to be the reason. Listen to this, yeah? Kyle Walker has gone to this football club and they've gone out. That is not a coincidence. And with the news that Bonnie Blue is pregnant this week, it's yet another spanner in the works for Kyle, realizing yet another bill is on the way. Jeremy Kyle could sell out Craven Cottage, you know, just for potential candidates for this one. That hospital waiting room's gonna be looking like Oxford Circus, mate. Add another one to the hospital room after Rafael Leao broke this Feyenoord defender's ankles. But as for Joao Felix's performance, a new cycle has started. He's gone on loan, now started to become a little bit shit, and Milan fans are realizing he's not quite Kaká, he's just Kaká instead. Bayern Munich just scraped past Scottish side Celtic in the Champions League to progress to the round of 16, given a massive scare as Alphonso Davies had to save Bayern in the 94th minute. Bayern almost slipped up here, and Vincent Kompany quite literally did. Michael Olise was interviewed by his French under-23 manager Thierry Henry over on CBS Sports, TT having to check him up a little bit during this one.
Some time to adapt to be honest. You know, I spoke with TT as well a lot.
So it's TT now, not coach. Really?
It's a coach. It's a coach.
Hey.
Coach.
Okay, Coach TT.
But fair play to Celtic, honestly. They get a lot of grief alongside a lot of Scottish clubs, from myself included, for usually going out pretty early. But they put up a massive fight here, qualified really well, and can be impressed with their campaign overall. Over in Qatar, and there was the Match for Hope game, a charity match involving former ex-pros and legends of the game, and also influencers, YouTubers, etc. Except I think E-Man might genuinely be a professional footballer, so I'm not gonna lie to you. He scored some absolute beauties in this one. Meanwhile, Speed and KSI actually combined for a goal here. Just a shame they're on opposite teams. KSI scoring an own goal from a Speed cross, who's really improved, I've got to say. We had Bazinga tackling Iniesta. Like, what is actually going on in the world right now? Thierry Henry was warming up before kickoff, but get him to Leicester, bro. Arsenal needs some strikers right now. Ogden's highlights were looking pretty familiar, I'm gonna be honest with you. Meanwhile, Speed sent Danny Aarons to the shops. This one was called Match for Hope, because if Speed can skin Danny Aarons, then there's hope for anybody. One man that wasn't getting skinned, though, Angry Ginger at centre-back. Sensational tackle here. He actually starts for United. I'm being so deadly serious. At Everton, they debuted their new stadium in a youth game against Wigan. It looks sick. Doesn't really have as much soul as Goodison Park, I'm not going to lie to you. But don't worry, Wigan managed to provide some of that by beating them, and a Liverpool fan playing for Wigan celebrating by putting 6 fingers up. Yeah, they just sink this back into the Mersey, bro. It's Kalan. Over at Tottenham's women's side, though, now.
Oh,
yeah, now Heung-min daughters on our madness. I'm not going to go in too much, yeah, but this is a Mazza. I don't even understand what the vision is here. Speaking of Tottenham, and one fan, clearly of Arsenal, managed to continue hatred towards his rivals, even beyond his own lifespan, putting "We Hate Tottenham" on his own coffin for his feud. That's genuinely incredible stuff. Over at Everton, there's more love than hatred for their new breakout striker star, Beto. One Everton fan even editing a Samuel Eto'o shirt to be more representative of their current star. At Ipswich, Alex Palmer made his debut in goal against Aston Villa, a crucial result for Ipswich, maintained by this ridiculous worldie of a save at the end. Probably the save of the season from Alex. Congratulations to Justin Cliver having a great season on the pitch and now having a wholesome time off it. He's welcomed a child to the family with him and his partner. He took to TikTok whilst his partner was in labour. Meanwhile, one FPL account was trying to work out whether he'd play this weekend by tracking the baby's birth. This is mental illness. And at West Ham, we got some great news for Mikel Antonio, who's back in physiotherapy already after a scary crash he was involved in just a few months back. Impressive stuff, I've got to say, but this man's back before Luke Shaw. This recovery is borderline miraculous. What has Luke been doing in the meantime whilst Mikel Antonio's been putting the hours in? Now over in Spain, and Antony scored again for Betis as his side won 3-0 versus a 9-man Real Sociedad. He's got more goals than United this month, bro. Probably even more in this year. It's another boost on his card, I'm not gonna lie. He's actually gone over to Spain and he's spun them right round. Do we have to have questions about La Liga at this point? A Brazilian whose name is a stockbroker from Swindon. Real Madrid have just smacked up Man City in the Champions League, to be fair. I feel like it's less about the top teams. They have undoubted quality, but is the overall quality from like 5th downwards lower than that in the Premier League? Probably. Either way, Jules Koundé wasn't letting any of that sort of noise get in his way over on Insta. Vinny Jr., however, was letting many things get in the way, even the force of gravity pulling him down to the floor, because I sure as hell know it wasn't the defender that did it. That might be worth 2 yellow cards for simulation, honestly. And over at Barca Femení, scoring after flicking your hair out of your face mid-dribble has got to be a new skill move somewhere along the lines. Over in Germany, and Bayern Munich faced off against Bayer Leverkusen. This was a chance for Xabi Alonso's side to get themselves fully back in the title race and get themselves 3 points. But in the end, the game ended 0-0 in anti-Leverkusen activity. This is anti-Bundesliga activity furthermore. What is this defensive malarkey they've got going on? There was a devastating miss though late on for Florian Wirtz, but Xabi Alonso hadn't quite produced enough black magic juju this month. Over at St. Pauli and at their stadium, you get hot dogs or bratwurst delivered by seats on a train. This is crazy. I need to see this in the UK, but I know for sure that all the trains would get cancelled and you wouldn't get your food. Either that or it'd end up being bumped up to first class and it'd be about £378. And at the top of the Bundesliga, Zwei Magdeburg have finally won a home game. Yeah, these guys were actually sat top of the league, ready to get promoted to the top flight of German football, having not won a single game at home. That record, that curse has finally been broken after they beat Köln 3-0, and the world's weirdest league gets slightly slightly less weird for now. In Italy, and Juventus faced off against Inter, was a chance for Marcus Thuram to come off the bench and make a difference by shoulder barging jokingly into his younger brother Kefren. But it was Kefren who'd get the last laugh as Juventus won thanks to Francisco Conceição. The Conceição household firmly cursing Inter recently after his dad beat them as manager for AC. Louis Buffon is playing in Italy. You guessed it, he's the son of Gianluigi. He's a left winger who plays for Pisa, and for the first time in his career, he was pulled up to the first team to be on the bench under Gianluigi's former Italian teammate Filippo Inzaghi. A beautiful story, though there's going to be a little bit of confusion when Louis starts using his hands as an outfielder. And in France, Luca Hernandez conducted a gender reveal over at PSG. Football stadiums doing gender reveals. I need to see this in the Prem. Imagine Luton attempting to do this at Kenilworth Road last season. It'd just be a pizza box getting flung from the conservatory in the away end. If it's pink, it's a girl. If it's blue, it's a boy. Thierry Henry had some advice for a kid that met him, but was still eating at the same time.
Why? Why should I?
You don't have me?
Why should I? Give me a good reason and I'll do it.
Because I'm from Algeria.
You talk with your mouth full of food. That's the first. How can I hug?
And there was a beautiful story at Lille involving Nabil Bentaleb. The former Tottenham midfielder had suffered a cardiac arrest recently and had been out of the game for a while. He returned to training very, very recently and even came on for a League 1 match this week in which he scored 4 minutes into his return. Obviously an extremely popular event amongst his teammates and the fans. Beautiful to see him back out on the pitch. Now there is time for your goals of the week, and I am spoiling you this time because we've got 4 strikes. The first of which comes from Brazil and a very familiar face on this channel for right and wrong reasons. This time he's not pummeling his niece. Hulk is pummeling the ball into the back of the net from this free kick from miles out. A very different goal next up coming from Saudi Arabia where John Duran is tearing things apart. The former Aston Villa man has 4 goals in 2, one of those being this spectacular solo goal, cutting through a defence and then slotting it under the keeper. Down in the Championship and at Stoke, Lewis Baker picked up the ball on the halfway line and in the 92nd minute launched it from distance over the keeper. And finally, we're heading to the amateur scene. I don't even know what country this is coming from, actually, but it's a Puskás contender. The ball arriving at our goal scorer here. He stamps the ball down to flick it up and then bicycle kicks it in from distance. That is one of the best goals I've seen in this series' history. That is a joke. Hello all and welcome to The Beautiful Game, the segment where we take a look at the poetic and brilliant side of the game that we love. We are back by popular demand for yet more glorious beauty.
Chama 2 jogadores para fazer.
And that concludes The Beautiful Game. There was raucous stuff going on in America. Lionel Messi having to play in minus 14 degrees over in Kansas City. There was a throwback look for the game. Snood's return. Why did these get banned in the first place, man? Bring back Samir Nasri. And his wife, for that matter, actually thinking about it. But Leo scored the decisive goal in this one, proving that he can do it on a cold, snowy night in Stoke. And his son bringing out skill as well. Leo Messi Jr. with this solo goal that's very reminiscent of what his dad was doing at a younger age. Not all well and good though at Inter Miami for Leo, as he was absolutely violated by this goalkeeper as the Argentine tried to chip him. A one-handed save. That's criminal, I'm not gonna lie. If he'd patted him on the top of the head, it would have been a political incident. Meanwhile, his teammate Luis Suarez has come under fire this week, and it's harsh, I'm not gonna lie, but the video is funny, as he was seen running, like loosely speaking, in behind. It's more of a light jog, to be honest, in terms of the pace that he's actually. He does one bleep test, by the way, his knee falls out, I'm telling you now. In Turkey, Jose Mourinho was asked a very important question. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Wow.
But I don't have problems with cats.
You're not allergic to cats.
I'm not Kurt Zuma.
Yeah, nah, this is a shithousery award. It's just a completely unnecessary shot. 3 kicked cats. Respect. At Kilmarnock, and they scored against St Johnstone, bringing out a concerning goal celebration graphic, only for it to end up being the player actually trying to open a bottle instead of opening up anything else. Meanwhile, in Brazil, the big story over there has been Neymar returning to the country after his ill-fated journey to Saudi Arabia. He's back at Santos where it all began, and he scored his first goal from the penalty spot. I don't really have anything else to report, to be honest with you, other than the fact that he'll get injured in 3 weeks because it's that time of the year approaching. Elsewhere in Brazil, and the state of the pitches, they might need to come under fire, because how is this game not getting postponed for a waterlogged pitch? What the hell is going on? This is like trying to play a football match in the Thames, mate. Or the Gulf of Bukayo, as it should be known, apparently. In Belgium, there were crazy scenes at Genk, where midfielder Brian Heiden had to go in goal. Genk FLYING celebrated this by changing his position over on their website, and he even managed to save a penalty in this one, only for the referee to cancel it out, and for him to then end up being beaten from the retake. This referee, yeah, why are you ruining it? Genuinely, let people have some fun, man. What the? He probably did a better job as a goalkeeper this week than Sporting shot stopper, as this back pass own goal, an absolute howler beating him. And in Colombia, there's a slight interruption from the game here, as a parrot could be seen flying around the ground, only to return to a fan in the crowd. There were historic scenes in Ireland, meanwhile, as there was a record attendance, 33,000, for a League of Ireland game. This is absolutely massive stuff. I love it. Would love to see football in Ireland get bigger, I'm not gonna lie. I think the culture is easily there for it. The Aviva Stadium is there for it. And Ireland, you know, just used to have good players. It'd be good to see them actually competing again on the international stage too. And think of the entertainment, splitting the G at halftime. Now though, it is time for your Shamrock Rovers review, because their player Michael Noonan became the youngest player ever to score in a UEFA competition, as they won 1-0 in the first leg of a knockout stage game against Mulder. Then the next day he went off back to school. I love that. The kid's humbled, his feet are on the ground. It would have been a scene seeing him walking into assembly the next day. Now there is time for the moment you've all been waiting for, because over in Romania, oh, it's brilliant to see this nation back, I've got to say. And we have got an absolute classic of a story from this classic nation, because we head down to the third tier of Romanian football and at Sundara, where their coach Dan Alexa's been doing a good job. They're top of the league at the moment, but he's taking a break. He's stepping away from football. No, not to go on a sabbatical and, you know, recharge himself. No, not to find himself a new job, but to go on a reality TV show instead. He's taking part in the Romanian version of Race Across the World, and I think his assistant is leaving as well. So he's top of the league with a side in the third tier, and he's just sacking them off, basically, which honestly, I don't know whether to respect or condemn. And we've got things that we can condemn down in the Championship as well, because when Burnley faced off against Preston this week, Hannibal, the former Manchester United midfielder, was allegedly the victim of racial abuse from a Preston defender, who also bit a man, by the way, last season. The club made a statement about it. James Trafford showed his support on Insta with a picture of him clattering into the guy. Apparently, he, like, allegedly called him, like, a black man over and over again. Not a very, I mean, like, if we're gonna make it an insult, at least make it a good one. No, I'm joking. Like, obviously, this is, not acceptable, whatsoever. Obviously, if this is the case, EFL have got to come down heavily on this guy. I'm fed up of seeing people racially abuse someone and get 3 games as a suspension. In more light-hearted Championship news, and at Norwich, Josh Sargent scored a goal this week whilst there was a squirrel on the pitch. Adam Forshaw was released by Plymouth back in January and managed to find himself a new club in the form of Blackburn. Blackburn faced off against Plymouth, and you guessed it, Adam Forshaw scored against his former club. He celebrated by running directly in front of the technical area of his former side and then just standing in front of them doing the Jude Bellingham celebration. It's a shithousery award for Adam. Leeds left it late to beat Sunderland in a crucial top-of-the-table clash this week. One fan was seen celebrating on CCTV coverage whilst working. The celebrations were even more crazy, though, in the stadium, as this Leeds Dom was just hanging from the rafters, bruv. That's the last thing I expected to see when it's turned around. In Mexico and at Cruz Azul, we've got maybe the worst miss of the year so far. Elsewhere in Mexico, there's the realization they delegate their referees on whether they actually fit into the Wi-Fi bar logo. And staying in Mexico once again, we've got a player tripping over the turf and trying to pass it off as a foul by grabbing the ball. Yellow card for the grass immediately. Boa Vista in Portugal, they're struggling, and they needed some new recruits. They decided to take that to the max by signing 9 free agents at the same time, including some names that you may have heard of before. A very direct way of trying to solve their issues. We'll see if it works. Things are a lot more chill in Switzerland at Servette. Well, they're actually hotter, technically, because you can have a hot tub ticket watching one of their games at their home stadium from the site of a jacuzzi. And elsewhere, we've got one of the more unique skill moves I've ever seen. If this works, it's 7-star skill moves, but because it doesn't, retire immediately. Now there is time for Still 0-0, and you guys know the score by now. This is a segment of the show where I bring to the best of Sunday League and amateur football. Now, often we focus on the lack of ability when it comes to the players, but usually there's a lack of ability when it comes to the officials as well. Bad refereeing decisions, because it's not professional refs at the end of the day, and there's no technology to help them out. This time, though, we've got a completely different scenario. We've got an official with ability, not refereeing ability, like maybe he should be out on the pitch instead, because this linesman's randomly become Neymar for no apparent reason, but with a knee in instead. Also, what in the world is going on with this kit clash in the background, by the way? The lines, but he's the only person that any of them can actually differentiate between. On to the weird stuff, though, now. First of all, we head to Peru, where Alianza Lima were facing off against Boca Juniors in the Copa Libertadores, and the Peruvian side won, surprisingly. But it wasn't explosive play on the pitch that was grabbing headlines. Instead, it was explosives off it, as one man from Peru named Brian Gonzalez admitted to swapping a ticket for the game for explosives. Yeah, he gave away a ticket, was involved in like a criminal deal that saw him giving a ticket away in return for taking like explosives into the stadium. He tried to blag it and say that they were pyrotechnics, but unfortunately for him, pyrotechnics don't look like a C4, so it's difficult to... And finally, we head over to Malaysia and a side called PDRM. Now, they were teasing a new sponsor of theirs this week, and fans, people across the country, were wondering what it was going to be. Would it be a betting sponsor on the front of its shirt? Would it be a new cryptocurrency that's definitely going to go bankrupt in the next 14 weeks? No, instead, it would be a sponsor for a company that sells weed. Can't imagine this is going to go too well when the players start getting gifted the product. That, though, is going to wrap up football this week, and I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, then feel free to slap a like on the video, and of course, subscribe if you're new to the channel. You can also follow me on social media. It is at @theofficialfng on Twitter and on Insta. It's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a wonderful day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.